Welcome back to another Agency Connect. I'm Sunir Shah, CEO of AppBind. This is the podcast where we talk about what it's like to run a sustainable agency. Go figure. And I'm really excited to have Jovana Vujnic from Bumper Leads, living in Melbourne, who was a supply chain specialist before she made this huge amount of life mistake to become an agency like the rest of us, and brought her logistics and operations knowledge to the business to make it sustainable margins right from the beginning. And so she is quite a model. And I'm so happy for you to be here to share your story for someone who came outside the agency world and made a profitable enterprise out of it. So thank you.
Thank you for having me here, Sunir. I'm excited to be sharing some of my knowledge I gathered over my supply chain career.
Yes. And as typical podcasting goes in the pandemic era, I have two of my children around. So we'll see at what point they decide to guest host and ask for coloring pages. We'll see.
It's real life.
When will they ever be home? They have to go to school. When will they ever go to school again? All right. So we'll just see. So tell us a little bit about your agency. Like when did you, it's good to let the other agencies listening to this know where you're at. I mean, you were a supply chain manager first, but like, when did you start your agency?
So I started my agency in 2016. And before that, I used to have a business. I bought a supply chain business. I renovated that and I sold. And during that time, I actually learned about the power of marketing automation. And that was a fairly new concept for, I guess, everyone around the world. A lot of agencies, I guess they didn't really pick that up or implement those systems for other businesses. And a lot of that marketing automation concepts are really coming from the software world. So all the CRMs of the world are talking about marketing automation, how great it is for the business, but a lot of agencies are not talking about it as part of their digital marketing solutions. And so when I implemented that in my business, I was able to clear stock because it's an e-commerce business. I was able to clear stock within minutes instead of hiring staff to do the door knocking and selling pallets of, I was importing alcohol liquor into Australia. So instead of, selling beer has a short, if you drink beer, you'll see that it has a short shelf life. It can expire. So you have to sell it. You have to sell it quick. And so the power of technology really helped me do that without having to have additional overheads. And I said to myself, I really need to learn more about this. This is really good. It helps me have a clear process, systems, low overheads, high profit margins. I mean, what could be, this is really the holy grail, really, for any business. And so when I started doing this, people used to ask me, how did you manage to sell your business and work 10 hours a week and not invest a lot of time in growing it? It was just growing itself. And so I started to offer the solutions for marketing automation, and I ended up getting mentorship from people who were GMs of marketing automation at the time, was at Lead Pages, at Active Campaign. And so different people with different skill sets have come and helped me shape Bumper Leads, which is my agency today. And since then, we've worked with over 200 small and medium-sized businesses. So in various different verticals. It could be SaaS, e-commerce, other agencies. So we help other agencies as well. Since then, we've just been a small team. We used to have a bigger team, and this is why we could probably talk about the business model. I'm sure we'll share that. And now I'm trying to keep it very small.
Let's tell us a little bit about Bumper Leads first. Yeah, why don't you introduce like what Bumper Leads does, who your customers are, like give the solid pitch. Like, what do you guys do?
Yeah, so at Bumper Leads, we help small and medium-sized businesses simplify and automate their sales and marketing systems. And we help with one-on-one type of implementation. We also do trainings as well as online courses. So if somebody wants to learn how to put a strategy in place for a marketing automation concept, we help them to do that as a done for you, with you type of solution.
And so tell us, like, That's when we did our prep, a phrase you use a lot: "Done for you, done with you." What does that mean to you?
To us, I feel like when we talk to business owners, they're trying to be the sales guy, the marketing guy, everything. And so when we start to talk to them about technology and systems, that is kind of beyond the realm of what they could really imagine or visualize. And so we need to be there to hold their hand in a way. So if they can learn a few things, let's say the concepts of the strategy that I have proprietary kind of strategy that we have in place at Bumper Leads, if they can learn those rules, then really the tech stuff, I always say it's easy. My tech people will probably say, no, it's not easy. Once you learn the tech stuff, you can actually just repeat that and apply that over and over again. And so we would normally just handhold. They'll watch a few slides, watch a few videos, do a few slides, and then we'll tell them, well, this is how you can roll this out using this software. Does that help?
Well, that's you're pulling the rabbit out of the hat already. Like that's, I think, the one most interesting thing about your agency model is how you've married courseware with your service deployment to make the deliverable predictable and profitable. So, well, we should get there, but let's do what we always do. It's like the quick, like, how big is the shape of your agency? So first, like, how many staff do you have at Bumper Leads?
We have full-time staff. We have about 4. And we have maybe about 10 subcontractors that we call upon if we need to. So we used to have more full-time staff. And that's when I've realized early on that because you're really a project type of business, we still have, I think when we caught up last time, we talked about the breakdown of our revenue and how it's all coming together. And I had to check that, which I'm happy to share with you. But 50% of our revenue comes from that one-on-one. And so when you're working with the project type of business, one-on-one type of jobs, it's really unpredictable in terms of revenue, in terms of time frames and lead times, and customers or clients are not always ready to buy from you when you expect them to. Then you need to start putting more money into getting and energy and effort into getting more leads. Then you start getting more leads, then you have to hire more people to implement that. And when you start to hire more people, you have to get more clients, more people, more clients, more people. You come to a point where it's probably going to be unsustainable for you if you don't have some.
Yeah.
Yes. And we also didn't want to go in directions that many digital marketing businesses go in, such as we want to be everything to everybody. So we'll offer the website designs and paid advertising and SEO and tech stuff. And we don't want to be that. We needed to specialize. We needed to find more of a niche. And we decided to go into this horizontal niching, which is just specializing in marketing automation.
That's very interesting, especially since you're so good at automation. I think it makes a lot of sense. You've folded into your own strengths and multiplied your productivity. Okay, well, you mentioned it, so let's get to here. Like, what is your revenue mix? I think this is one of the more interesting parts about how you built a sustainable agency. You said 50% from like direct service of like you working with the client.
Yes. So
where's the other 50%?
This was a lot of. Sorry. This is a lot of trial and error.
Yeah.
Trial and error, really, over time. You try. In the beginning, you have your as a mentor said, you have your client. Your client bruises. You say yes to everything, and you learn. And then over time, if you have to repeat those same mistakes that you've been making, I mean that's not good. You're not going to survive. So you have to learn and evolve. And so over time, our goal was really to reduce that one-on-one type of work, as is for many agencies. And how do we ensure that we have a predictable revenue stream coming in? And so this is based on last year's data that I have, which is, so 50% is from one-on-one, 20% is from affiliate type of income, so passive. 30% is probably recurring, and 7%, about 7 or 10, is recurring software sales. So that's the mix.
That's so interesting. So you actually have 30%, 27 to 30% of your revenue base coming from the tech in one way or the other, either from a affiliate referral or from a resold solution basis, which I'm gonna, as anyone listening to this knows or should know, it's just like catnip for me, because that's exactly what AppBind is about supporting. But we'll get into that later, because I think that's true. I mean, that's how it used to be. Like, margins come from the products that you can build and sell. Yeah. Okay. So, and then how many clients would you say you are carrying at any given time with 4 plus 10? Yeah. Uh-oh.
I would say for the one-on-one, we probably have 20 a year. 20 a year one-on-one jobs. And I don't want to be, as I said, I don't want to be a big agency. We want to be small, boutique. We can control the process, which is introducing or productizing our service and introducing different offerings.
And then how long do your clients typically stick with you?
We have clients that stick with us since 2016. So our lifetime value of a customer, I was really surprised when I looked at that. It's 5 years. I would say 20% of our customers have been with us for 5 years. And then we have customers coming back after we've helped them. They come back. Sometimes not everyone wants to or needs to really have us on a monthly support or some kind of continuous improvement. We try, as part of our done for you with you model, is we try to teach them, train them on how to use the system, because if they don't love the system, they're not going to use it. They're going to hate it. They're probably not going to come back to work with us. And so we need to be able to empower them to love what they have. And once they do, we're not really, if somebody comes in and after 6 months we implemented the solutions and they have random questions, we're not going to turn away and say, oh, you need to pay us 1 hour of work to fix this. We're just going to fix it, because it's the service, it's the ultimate service, that if we give them that type of value, which is going to take us maybe 5 minutes to do something, for us, it's benefits for them to come back and do more projects with us.
It's good. By the way, a little pause for our editor. Let's go do a clap here. It says your device is not recording.
Oh, it's not recording.
Why is that happening? I hope I'm recording, both of us.
It says your computer stopped the recording, my one. On my screen, only your recording stopped due to your hardware limitations. Others continue to record, so you're still recording.
Okay, cool. I'm going to come back. Now we are using the editor, for sure. Okay, clap. So one thing you mentioned that, let's get back to the rabbit. I mean, you're talking about productizing your service, and you just casually drop these things, but it's not normal, and it's great that you do this. You're talking about training your clients to use the software on their own, and then they come back to you later because, of course, they love that. I think that's what clients want. They want to feel calm and in control of their lives, and anyone who can give them back control, they're just going to love you forever. They're never going to get rid of you because you're the only ones who truly understand them. Oh my God, so many stories. And so Yeah, you're just casually just skipping past
It's
the real
business as
story here. So
usual, you know.
yeah, so you've automated or automating or made courseware. You said slides or videos around what you would normally provide, is like most agencies would provide as a one-on-one shiny trusted expertise, and you're trying to train these clients up to serve themselves in a way, but with your help. That's completely. I mean, I've seen it only once before, which is Impact B&D. They do that, I guess, but like, and they turned it into like a university of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
But your
Mm-hmm.
model is like really agency oriented. Tell us all about this, because this is totally wild and I love it. Yeah,
Okay.
it's 100%
So
agree.
we the process, if you wanted to work with us, the process for us is also automated. If I have to compare it with other agencies and how other agencies that we work with, whether you're branding agency, creative agency, you always have this way of getting your first sale. And so whether you're going out and quoting for a big job or you're trying to win a very small job in the as a foot in the door. So for us, we have a foot in the door offer that is the strategy, and the strategy is not typical marketing sales strategy. It's from my from where I sit. Marketing automation is really difficult to look at as in isolation of your whole business. So we have to look at what happens before somebody makes a purchase, what happens during, what happens after. And so that is our what we call a bumper blueprint, which we also trademarked as our own proprietary solution. So once somebody buys that for a very low, I say low amount because I put so much
Yeah,
value
yeah.
into it. The process is automated, so I don't have to go and write another quote. I don't have to go and do. So as soon as they say yes, I want to go ahead, there is an automated way of getting some homework for them to do. They get their logins to the online course. They get to do answer maybe about 20 questions about their business. We run a 1 hour workshop over Zoom. Then we let them watch a few videos and we tell them this is the low hanging fruit. These are the quick wins we can do now. Let's focus on the content. Because there is part of marketing automation is that you have to obviously work on some content marketing. Let's focus on fixing that first, and that's probably the time-consuming part. And so then we basically pick a CRM for them, whether we recommend, but if they don't have one, and we tell them how segmentation and business rules would work with this tech. And then from our end, it's actually easier. And because we work with so many different verticals, we actually have, I would say, templatized and productized and systemized the solutions. So we could say, okay, so for an e-commerce business, these are all the funnels that we could build. And so we would just make that probably a job of an hour or 2 hours for somebody maximum. And then most of the work is then done by the client to upload in, and then we'll be doing a lot of testing at the end and telling client, this is where they get stuck on. When they test, you almost need to be, you need to be a professional tester to test your software because you need to test for every scenario. And so sometimes our clients, if we put them in charge of testing, they don't know what they're testing for. And so we would take charge of that process and we would say, hey, this is how works. We would do a recording of it. So we use Loom, something like that. Loom is quite easy to use, and they really get excited. I mean, the customers go, wow, I don't know, like this is so much information. Yesterday I had a strategy session with somebody that I just presented, and for me it feels, this is the challenge for me it feels like, oh, I've done this over and over and over again. But for them, they were like, wow, here's the keys to my business. Can you just go and do everything? I just trust you so much. And so that's pretty much the gist of it. And so at the moment, our course that we have, it's called Marketing Automation Made Simple. And
Mm-hmm.
we are very big on simplifying, as you can see, simplifying our business and simplifying other people's businesses. And so marketing automation made simple is trying to simplify all the knowledge that we've accumulated. And so at the moment we are targeting e-commerce because they're quite easy to scale. And quite easy to implement solutions. They can see very quick wins even on their bottom lines. They could see returns of 30% of the whole annual revenues if they had a solution like this. Then we'll introduce the same concepts for SaaS and for other agencies. And I find that when you are being very targeted for the vertical, then you start to talk the language of those customers and clients, and it gets easier for us to explain and train.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I just like the last podcast I just did, we were just ripping into the idea of an all-inclusive marketing agency, which I know many of the listeners are. But the more you do that, the more you're making the customer do all the work and figure out what they're getting from you, and the more you speak in their language. But like speaking, making customers go work, you're just skipping past like some of the good stuff here. Like most agencies, and personally, I'm terrified of the idea of making the client do anything, because I guess one of the lines that I use all the time here is most clients feel like, why do clients hire contractors, right? They're always behind schedule. They feel a little bit incompetent, incapable, like the lack of capacity or knowledge. They don't really trust you yet. But they're hiring because you're trusted expertise, and your job is to calm them down and make them feel like they're back in control of their lives. And usually that means you'll say, "I'll take care of it for you." But in your case, you're saying you'll take care of it for you, but we'll help you understand what to do, which is perfectly valid solution. But most clients that I experience don't like doing things, or they do, and I'm very slow. If you ask me to do anything, I will do like wait a month because I'm like cycling around from project to project. So how do you get these clients past the enthusiasm gap, where they're like putting to dos back on their plate so that they're happy with this or they're not happy?
Mm. Yeah, look, it's interesting you mentioned that because I have another colleague, a peer in my field where they would control the whole process. They would never allow a client to write their own copy. They would want to control that because it controls the time frames for them, etc. What we found is that because we're working on it, we're touching on their sales process, on the client sales process, marketing process. We are trying to identify what their SQL, MQLs are. We're trying to find a lot of different variables and triggers and behaviors in their business. We're trying to define business rules for them. They want to feel comfortable to trust us to give the power away, if you know what I mean, their power away to us to make that happen. And so what I found is that most clients appreciate, and we had feedback from them, that we are giving them the expertise. We are actually, even though they don't want to implement the how, some of them, there are certain clients that are, like you said, that they just want to give you the keys and you handle everything. But sometimes they appreciate the fact that you spent an extra 10 minutes or 20 minutes explaining to them that this is how an automation works and this is why these rules exist. And then they could see and visualize and go, wow, I am talking to a real expert. This is not something I could have done myself. And that you build the trust in that way. It doesn't cost us
So
much
that's
in
very
terms of
interesting.
our time to do that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for me, it sounds like it's a no-brainer to offer and share what you know.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense to me. Like
So,
you show them that I mean, if anyone goes to the doctor or whatever, and they explain to you a procedure, right? Then you're like, that sounds really complicated, but then you feel happier knowing, and then you're like more likely to say yes. But it's the same thing with an agency, right? You show them your expertise, then you have confidence. So how often though, like, so what's your mix of when a client says, "I'll do it myself," versus, "Can you take care of it?" And then there must be some variant where the client says, "I'll try," and then they fail, and then they come back to you. And I bet rarely do they send it to you and then take it back. Like if it once it goes to your hands, I don't think they'll take it
Oh,
back, right? I'm assuming.
yes, yes. No, once we take over, once we take over, I don't think they can appreciate. They can really truly see how bad their DIY setup was if they didn't talk to us beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
And if we did in our ideal sales process, if we did everything that I just explained, we had our strategy, and then we have our system that we implement, and then we roll it out and train them. I would say that 90% of the time, customers are just left. They don't touch anything. You don't touch. The system works. The only thing you would probably have to change is probably some content if you wanted to do any further A/B split testing and you wanted to test things. But from our end, we don't really need to be involved as much. Sometimes you have clients who come back and say, "Hey, I'm launching a new product or I'm doing something new. I would like to have a webinar funnel or something created." That could be a new project, and it could be a quote that you could do essentially for that job. Our goal is to not spend time doing ad hoc jobs or spending time. I'm not sure. I always find it's not something I enjoy as a salesperson to always draft quotes and email quotes, chase quotes. That's not a fun thing to do. So I try not to do, I try to simplify that process of always quoting for jobs. And that's because, and there is a reason why, because we don't want to work. We have a mix of our clients are small, medium, and there are some that are enterprise clients. But I would say maybe 10% of our client base is a very big corporate client that would expect to have an account. You would have to have an account manager, you would have to have a strategy person, you would have to have all these different people involved just so you can deliver your digital marketing solution. I don't really want to work in that segment, that vertical.
That's
so we just help small
okay,
businesses.
I'm trying to suss this out. So you have this courseware version. You have the teaser project, which I think is the smartest way to enter. I mean, that's how I did it. You have to sell them one bite of a cookie, in my opinion, so they get to know you, and then you can sell them the rest. But then you have this amazing funnel where they take us. You do your initial whatever project to identify the strategy, then they go into the courseware universe, and then they do some follow up, and then you start helping them automate some things. At what point, like, is the goal to get them to just trust you, to trust you, have them trust you so that you can just take over everything at the end? Or is it the goal to have them still be involved, self-managing?
Our goal is to give them power to manage it themselves. Because the other part is most of the work that we would do, they could do it with a virtual assistant if they needed us on a recurring type of basis. And that's also not the work that we enjoy doing as well. So if we need to continue the work, it's really if they needed someone, I think the term will be retainer. If they needed somebody on a retainer, if they needed to hire someone full-time to look after a marketing automation. So, they can hire us on a, let's say 10 hours a month type of monthly support. And we have had clients who do that, and they've been with us for 5 years doing that. So there are options, but essentially my ultimate goal is to empower them and free up our time to focus and grow in other ways. So the online, when you say online course, like this is a done for you, with you type of things, we still need to meet with clients even when we do one-on-ones with them. So we might as well have it as a leverage to meet. Let them, there is a group. You can actually come if you want to be part of a group. And if you want to, if I have 4 e-commerce type of clients, they can all join in on one Zoom call on a Thursday, and they've actually enjoyed that because they get to meet other, they love to talk, they love to share knowledge. And when they finish the project together, we had one of them cry because she didn't want it to end. She felt alone and isolated. So
Aren't we all the client therapists? This is what I learned. Yeah, it's all about client therapy. Oh, I love this. So you have a little, you have a, I don't know how big your community is, but I don't want to say little, but you have a community of clients
yes,
working with each other as well, which is another value add and something
yes,
they'll never leave you for if the community is valuable. I mean,
yes, yeah.
um,
It's something we're trying to actually have it as an offering. So we have a Facebook group which I've only just created called Marketing Automation Made Simple, and we want our clients to have access to that. Our community, because we find that we have had some networking events with some of our clients together, and they're just everyone has the same energy. They all like the connection, and I think bringing people together, that like it really feels good, and I think a lot of clients appreciate that. We also send them gifts as well, some random gifts and random thank you cards, and they love to, because no one in business receives a nice gift from you from your partner.
that's so interesting. Wow. Okay, so what's the future? I mean, like, what you're productizing services, like, what do you envision the offering mix to be if you could perfect it, knowing what you know now?
Yeah, if I can perfect it. So I definitely want to be known in the marketing automation space as somebody that can simplify things. We want to basically amplify our authority in this space. I'll be writing a book on the topic. We'll launch a few more courses or these done for you, and we'll hire more people, but not to the detriment of our profit margins. So for me, the goal is always to think profit first. So profit first, like Mike, the book Mike Halowitz has. My goal is to always think about, well, how can I make sure that this business is profitable? And if I introduce different products, they need to bring in margins that are aligned to this profit margin. So I can then invest so I can invest in other things. I can grow in other ways. And so for us, I don't know if when I talk to other agencies, they always talk about the revenue. When I think of revenue, I think of it's almost like a vanity metric. It's the profit for me gives me sanity in the business. That's what
Yeah, revenue is
I like.
terrifying. I mean, when you're an agency, I mean, this is why we started this podcast. Revenue actually scares the living daylights out of most agency owners because they know revenue is payroll, and payroll turns over. That means the revenue has to keep coming, and that's the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. I mean, no business is like this except for agencies. I mean, it's not the crazy. I mean, I've been in agency land long enough to know this problem, but like it is. It's kind of like everyone out in every other business be like, oh, I have this much revenue, and everyone's like, yay, good for you. But then you're like,
Yeah, you're
yeah,
struggling.
it's yeah, you should
You're not
always
getting
be
paid.
profit first. No. There's we did one with Active Powered, another active campaign agency out of Finland. They do Italian support. Don't ask why an Italian moved to Finland, but he did. And so, okay, I mean, I like the Côte d'Azur, but if you want to go to Finland and freeze, that's fine. Whatever you want. But the he has a great business, but he was saying that it's all about this is Stefano. It's all about when you do anything, you have to think of the margin and profit first, and if there's no point scaling anything without that
Mhm.
margin. Is that how you do it too? Like, do you have a margin goal when you run a business, or do
Yes.
you just figure it out?
Well, my profit margin is like my goal for profit is 46%. That is the
That's a very specific
goal.
number. That's
And if
interesting.
I can maintain that. When you put a 6, not 5, or you're you're more committed, I think, because it's an unusual number.
Very interesting bit of psychological feedback. I love it. Yeah, that's interesting. 46% is pretty high. Are you and like what are you doing? I sometimes we ask this about like as an owner, managing your own finances, because the owner, that you draw salary maybe from operations, or you might draw from the profit margin. You have to, when you're building equity. Have you figured out your own financial planning as the owner, so that you have something that presumably could pad your eventual retirement, as we all will eventually march on in life? Or are you still putting all the money back into growth? Like, where are you in your own personal as an owner
Yeah, that's a
financial?
good point. It's only just now starting to think about that. We have in Australia, we have to by law, have superannuation. So you have to pay
Yeah,
yourself a salary, and also, so we don't pay ourselves the salary that give you the highest tax margin. You have to pay the highest
yeah,
tax.
obviously.
So you pay yourself the minimum that you can. And we do that as superannuation here is like 9.5% of your salary. So that is
Yes.
automatically by default, you have to do it. You have no choice. I
Mhm.
am looking to acquire other businesses. And I think for us acquiring, I feel sometimes I feel a bit, I can't say bored, but things are going so well that you need to have some challenges as an entrepreneur.
Well, you're an
So
entrepreneurial genius. I can imagine. You can. I hear Twitter's going to be for sale soon, so you can buy that for one Bitcoin.
I was gonna say, Elon Musk buying Twitter was, something he was bored probably with Tesla.
Oh
Um,
my gosh!
but
Yeah,
yeah,
don't do that.
I need to. Yeah, I'll start another social media network.
Yeah.
Um, but yes, we do need to. I need to. I feel like I need to apply my skills in other ways, in other industries, in other. Okay. Buying a business and growing another business would be quite exciting for me. We also want to. What was I going to say now? We want to travel. Like for me, having more free time, so less one-on-one as much as possible. So if I can replace the 50% of the private one-on-one jobs that we do for our clients, then it gives me more freedom to be in another country. Maybe not Finland and Italy, but we can
Well, tell us, this
we
is
can.
actually part of your story, right? Like, you were a digital nomad up until the pandemic ruined all our dreams. Like, what? Tell us a little bit about that, because you're so good at organizing your life. Tell the
Yeah, yeah.
listeners, like, what the point of it all is. Like, you live a great life. So,
Yes, I always take that for granted. So, I mean, I spent 12 years in the corporate world working for. Every year, I used to change jobs. Work for big companies, managing in the procurement and supply chain. So, managing quite a lot of big portfolios, focusing on the risk and costs and things like that. So, it gets to a point where you're so good at your job that you get bored. So then I ended up buying a business, and then I renovated and I sold while I had the full-time job. And then I decided that this is more fun than having a full-time job. And so I decided when I did create Bumper Leads, it was mainly as an idea to replace my job. So it was really just a cash flow type of business. And then we wanted to travel the world. So how can we have a business that allows us to be in any location? And my husband and I decided, yeah, let's do this. Let's just jump. I am quite scared. Like for me, uncertainty would keep me up at night. I don't easily will say yes, but I had to overcome that fear. And I just said, I trust you, my husband. let's just pack up, live out of our suitcase, and pick a country. And so just overnight, literally overnight, we booked a flight to Chiang Mai, which is where a lot of digital nomads love to go. And the internet is really, really good if you go to Thailand first. We spent there probably a month. Then we went to Malaysia. Then we went to Vietnam. Then we went to Turkey, Istanbul, which we love. We want to go there again. And so various different countries, and it was all very ad hoc. But during this time, we're having fun working as well as traveling, because your work is kind of your Monday to Friday. But the hours and different time zones allow you that you can finish, let's say, midday, and you can still go for a walk in Istanbul and enjoy the day while your clients might be sleeping. And so this was all happening quite like we were excited, but it can also be exhausting. It's not really a glamorous thing where you see a lot of these guys on Instagram or somewhere, and they're on the beach on the laptop,
Well,
and I'm like
people.
making six figures. And no. It's hard work. It's not for everybody, that's for sure. And then when we came back, because our business was growing at the time, I also got invited to speak at some conferences in Chicago. That's when I went to US for the first time. Went to Chicago, New York, and we came back to Australia. And then the pandemic happened, so we had to be stuck in one place. This is the first time that I feel like, oh, this is crazy. I'm comfortable. It's too much comfort. I like to move. I like to go somewhere. So things need to happen. Adventure. I'm more adventurous type.
Well, as I mentioned at the top, I have 3 kids. The schools were closed for a strike briefly in Ontario, which was also as locked down as Melbourne was. And now one has a cough, so the rules they have to be home. And so the pandemic continues. I'll live through you vicariously.
Yes. I'll think about you when I'm on the beach.
Oh, yeah, please. That's what I want you to think about. Not just like the Mai Tai and your husband just sitting there in the white sand, probably with your laptop making money on some new thing.
What would Sunir do?
I'm sad now. Thank you. All right, Jovana, how do the people find you on the internets?
Yes, they can go to bumperleads.com. This is our main website. I'm also on Twitter and LinkedIn. And I also have a podcast, which I have forgot to mention. It's called Marketing Automation Made Simple. So you can get to hear my lovely voice there.
Yeah, and genius thoughts as usual. Thank you so much.
Genius.
You are, quite a I think, future thinker about how to run your agencies right from the beginning as a profit first, organized, efficient. You just blow my mind. Thank you so much for being here. And for anyone who made it to the end of the podcast, yeah, my pleasure. Anyone who made it to the end of the podcast, you need a drink. So, we buy drinks for you. So agencycocktails.com. Next one is December 6th. Actually, virtually, we'll ship you a bottle of wine anywhere you are. And let's talk about this stuff and plan for 2023. All right. Thank you so much.
Great. Thanks, Sunir.
For more great insights on partnerships and software, like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.